Well, welcome to Good Business Pays TV, the channel where you can find out everything you need to know about late and slow payment to small businesses. This is one of a series of interviews that we've been doing with Intuit QuickBooks customers. And today I'm joined by Rose Sellman-Leava, who is director and co-founder at Inclusive Futures. So welcome to you, Rose. And
Hi, Terry.
the first question I've got, I really wanted to hear about your story. What's the backstory? How did Inclusive Futures, which I think is in Bristol, come about? What's the business all about?
Cool. Okay. I'll try and keep it relatively brief. So we are a 5-year-old business now. So we just recently celebrated our 5th birthday, and we're Bristol based, but we serve the whole of the UK. And basically, we're on a mission to empower students from underrepresented backgrounds to realise a future that is right for them. And that is realise it by figuring out what it is that they want to do, but also to realise it in terms of what is it that they need to do to get there. So we use coaching as a tool to help them. We do not call ourselves careers advisors or anything like that. We just simply ask lots of questions and help people to figure out what they're motivated by, what their values are, so that they can realise that future that is right for them, not what was right for their teachers or their parents or their peers or anything like that. And we're also, on the other side of the business, we help support workplaces to become much more inclusive to support the next generation workforce. And so that is how our CIC operates. We work with organisations, and that pays for our community work with students 14 plus. And we sort of came about as a meeting between myself and my co-founder Jess. We were both on the same coaching course. We realised we both lived in Bristol, and we both actually worked in the higher education system. Neither of us at universities. I worked for a company called CIC, which is the National Research Education Network. So essentially the internet for universities and colleges, to really simplify it. And Jess worked for the regulator, which is the Office for Students. And we both very quickly realised that we wanted to make coaching accessible, so not just for leaders and managers in the UK, but we also wanted to make it available to young people. And because Jess worked for the regulator, she knew that young people from those less represented backgrounds are more likely to drop out. They're more likely to have a lower grade degree in university. They're more likely to suffer from mental health problems at university. And so that was our starting point. And we sort of launched on the eve of lockdown. But because our business model always incorporated an online aspect, we could respond really quickly to the university's need to support their students, but from an online space. So 2020 was the year that we did lots of workshops and coaching online straight off the bat. And we've kind of snowballed from there, really. And now we've reached between sort of 5,000 and 6,000 students, and worked with over 50 different businesses and education providers. So it's all really exciting.
It's a big job. It's a big and important job to do, isn't it? How on earth do you, is it schools or universities that you get on board, and what's the process of getting new customers? Is it local authorities, schools, who do you need to talk to get new customers?
So generally, we go through universities, and often they have a lot of feeder schools. And so we go to the schools as part of our work with the universities, basically. So universities are always our starting point. We work with the access and participation teams, or kind of student success teams, people who are really involved with students. And then they basically tell us what to do. So we either do things like staff training to help make staff feel much more comfortable and confident interacting and supporting students, or they assign us to schools to do really fun workshops and to get students thinking about what options are available to them and where they might want to go in the future as well. So there's a few different routes, but mainly through the universities. And that generally has been through means like LinkedIn, or just a few cold emails and things like that. And it's that's really worked for us, basically.
That's great. And why did you choose a community interest structure, business structure, CIC structure to run your business?
So we knew that if we wanted to engage with education providers, you get a lot more traction if you are a not-for-profit. But we just didn't want to rely solely on donations. We knew that we felt quite confident with what we were providing. And so we actually quite enjoy selling what we can give. And so that classic CIC Robin Hood model works really well for us. We can work with businesses who have a bit more money to spend via their learning and development budget or their kind of human resources budget. And then the profits just go straight back into either subsidizing or providing free support for students or education providers who have a lot less money.
And I guess you can take feedback from the businesses to the universities about what skills they're looking for and help the students figure
Yeah.
out what the future opportunities might be in business when they go on from university.
So absolutely that. And then interestingly, vice versa as well, we can tell businesses the patterns that we're seeing, the trends that we're seeing with students, because at the moment there's a real issue with retention of Gen Z, basically. It's been in the news. There's been things like quiet quitting, even loud quitting, where people might film themselves leaving a workplace on TikTok or something like that. And it's because workplaces haven't adapted to what Gen Z need. And we think there's this lovely marriage where we can kind of things can meet in the middle. We know the students' needs, we know the businesses' needs, and we think that both sides can adapt and equip themselves with the skills to support each other, basically.
Hmm. Well, I'm sure that's right. So late payments and slow payments, that's something we talk about at Good Business Pays quite a lot, as you know. Late being, I said I was going to pay you in 30 days, it's now 35. Slow being, well, my contract terms are I pay you in 90 days. Would a CIC, would you have experience of this kind of thing, either here or in a previous life, and how it affects your business?
Yeah, so we do have experience, sadly, of I would say slow payments, but also some late payments. Slow payments because we work with so universities and government bodies, or that kind of local authority space. We often find there is a real slowness to payments, which has definitely made us sweat at times, as we operate a kind of an associate model. So, if a university hires us to coach 100 of their students, me and Jess can't do that ourselves. We bring in some amazing associate coaches to do that on our behalf. And there have been times where, some of our customers have been so slow to pay and not paid when we expected them, that it's meant we've had to ask our associates if they can wait to be paid as well. And they're also, self-employed small businesses. They don't deserve to wait either. So that the knock-on effects from us not being paid by a larger contractor has really, it's not just us who's been affected. It's been all the people that we then owe money to as well.
Mm. And I was going to say our local authorities or universities worse, but I won't point you in that direction because we actually see the figures. But what I will ask is, do you see any common problems with why things are either slow or late? Is it human error or is it by design, do you think? Or
I
something
think
else?
I personally think it's just human error. So I think, and I say this as someone who has also worked for kind of government body and charity as well. I think that sometimes the processes, the procurement processes, the kind of finance systems are so complex that the people that work within them don't actually really know how they work. So I think, if you're within the finance team, you know how things should be. If you get something through at the right time, the payment usually happens. I think that human error is happening when people don't understand the whole process and at what time they need to send information or at what time they need to log things as well, because because I remember being baffled by it myself when I worked for one of these organizations. And I don't think as a, let's say as a kind of support assistant or a support officer somewhere, you don't quite realize that if you've not sent something at the right time, that the finance team won't get something paid until the next month, which I think is what is happening in a lot of these cases, basically.
Mm. And for a small business on the outside, even the onboarding to some of these procurement systems
Oh,
is like sort of going through surgery without any anesthetic, isn't it? It's really complicated.
it's absolutely nuts. And I think because Jess and I both worked in the higher education sector, we had an idea of what it was going to be like, and we also, we just knew how long these processes could take, but they do still make us feel like we're pulling teeth sometimes.
Yeah. But on the other hand, though, we talk to businesses who can rely on payment. So it always arrives on time, it always arrives fast. What I'm trying to get at there is what difference does it make to your business and the things you can do if you've got a bunch of clients that always pay on time, that always pay regularly, so you can rely on the money coming in every month.
It basically it enables us to do so much more. We can plan instead of planning, as soon as the money comes in and just being like, okay, well, here's where it's going to go. We can plan things in advance. We can think about, okay, do we want to spend a bit more on marketing this month, or do we want to hire somebody instead of using contractors, which is a lot more expensive. It's, for us, the difference between having a salaried member of staff on a 6-month fixed term contract is far, far cheaper than us using contractors. However, we need to know that that money is going to be in the bank, that we can pay them regularly. And so often we have to use contractors, which is a detriment to what we can do. And obviously the more we are paying contractors, the more we are paying other people, the less goes back to the community, the less goes back to those people that we are serving. So for us, it doesn't just help with operations. It obviously means that we can do more for those students that we are supporting, and means that our reach can just go further and further.
Presumably, you're familiar with the new Procurement Act that came in 2 months ago. That sets out that all small business suppliers, which you will be paid in under 30 days
Mm.
from any contracting authority. So I'm hoping that will help.
Fingers crossed. Yeah, I really hope that will help. And obviously, it gives us a bit more of a leg to stand on. If there is a late payment, we can reference it, which is hugely helpful, because you want to maintain really good relationships with your customers. We have customers that come back year after year after year, and we don't like telling them off.
No, and actually, when they hear the story of what you could do if you had certainty, that would deliver a better service to them ultimately, right? Because if you've got permanent staff, more
This.
certainty, you can plan the curriculum further. People get to see the same person time and again because it's not just a contractor, etc. There are real benefits for them as well, I assume.
So look, absolutely. So we have about 18 months ago, we got our kind of first proper permanent member of staff. And she's been doing exactly that. She has managed projects for us. She's been the first liaison with the universities that we're working with. She is the one that is representing us. And it's not fallen to me and Jess, who as directors, we're very stretched. It's not great for us to maintain, customer relations all the time. And so for us to have permanent members of staff that we trust, it is life changing. We could not be more pleased with what that's meant for us.
I know that I think you're a member of the Intuit Small Business Council. I think
Mm.
that's where we first met. The role of technology, well, is accounting software in general, is that a really good thing that helps you in this respect as well? And if so, how?
Yeah, it really so QuickBooks helps us massively. We have used it pretty much since day dot. It helps us. It helps us with our VAT return. It helps us to figure out how we're performing, how each year is going, how much we can put into that kind of community pot. So, how much we can take away from the day-to-day running and how much can provide either free or subsidised support for students. We use it for invoicing. We don't do e-invoicing yet. But yeah, we use it for invoicing and for obviously just keeping track of how much we are owed. And sometimes it's lovely to go in and see that we're owed a load of money, but it's then frustrating to have to chase people for that money as well.
So, final question actually, which goes to that point of chasing, but from the other end, which is the contracting end. So, a lot of the answer, not all of the answer, but a lot of the answer to not getting into problems with payment, slow or late, is negotiating the right terms and conditions before you start work. And we're trying to put together a guide for small businesses that said, here are the sort of banana skins to watch out for around contracting. Have you got any tips for other small business owners who might be going in to negotiate with a big company to say, remember these two or three things in the negotiation process? Not, it can be about payment, but it also can be more broad as well than that if you want.
So I think, I think I don't know loads of specifics around the payment process because again, we often work with such big contractors that they have their terms and we end up having to be a bit more adaptable, which we're happy to do. But I think one of my personal views is that I genuinely believe that there is a win-win in every situation. And so I think that just know that if somebody makes you feel like you are having to do X, Y, and Z and kind of bend over backwards for them, I actually think there is remember that there's a win-win in the situation and remember that you can also ask for things that are completely reasonable and that help you do your job. It means that you are providing a better service overall. So I feel like it's a bit of a wishy-washy one, that one. Very generic. But I think in the negotiation process, just know that you can negotiate, you can ask, you do have some power, and for people to know their worth and to know that there's a reason that they're being asked to fulfill a contract, and to trust that they are great and that they can ask for what they want.
Yeah, and if you that's absolutely right. If you feel that there's a win-lose conversation going on, it's probably going to be a red flag that further down the lane, this is not going to be a happy relationship at work because they're going to come back on these terms to you, and you can always walk away. You can always walk
Absolutely.
away if you don't feel it's right.
Yes, love that.
Mm. Brilliant. Thank you very much for your time spending it with us today. We really appreciate the good advice and the best of luck to you with your wonderful business.
Thanks, Terry. Bye.